What is up? Hello, hello. So this is our weekly Badass Business Bites. We have our good friend, Nicole. It's funny when I try and point. Nicole with us to talk all things Facebook ads for Q4 for your e-commerce business. So if you are with us watching live, please go ahead and let us know that you're here. Say hello. Don't forget to give StreamYard permission so that we can see your name when you comment. And if you are watching the replay, give us a hashtag replay as well. If you are watching the replay and you have questions, go ahead and pop them in the comments and we'll come back and answer them. We're here to support you. My gosh. So I remember last year always saying 2020 is going to be epic Q4 for e-commerce. I think we all thought we would be like, this would be true post-COVID, and it's not. So I think 2021 is going to be pretty awesome for e-commerce businesses too. So I'm super excited to have you here, girl. Thank you for spending your time with us. We do have some new people in the group who might not know who you are, though. So do you want to give a quick intro, and then we'll hop into it?
Of course. Thank you again, Jess. I love being on here and in this group. Again, you guys can utilize me at any time. So if you have ad questions, please feel free to drop them in the group, tag me. I'm here to help. But my name is Nicole Diedrich. I own Diedrich Marketing Strategies. What we focus on is helping e-commerce brands like yourself be able to get seen, whether it's organically or paid through Facebook ads and Instagram. So it's something that we've been doing for over 2 years now, full time in my business. Thank you. It has come from me being the solo owner. So those of you who are still doing it by yourself, but rocking it out, Jess and I know exactly what that's like. And now I have 3 full-time employees, and we're really moving in the way of how can we serve our clients to the best of our capacities as well as to their capacities, and what we can do to just help more people, because that's just something I'm really passionate about. So love ads. This year has been crazy with ads because they have changed so much, and I feel they have really found the ad strategists who are willing to work and figure things out, even when the Facebook people don't know how it works yet. So
Yeah, let's actually touch on that a little bit. And then what I really want to talk about is like, how can they start using ads right now to kind of fill up their funnels, get those cold audiences who are going to be ready to buy from them later on. But let's talk about iOS 14 really quick because, I think there's still a lot of confusion, a lot of fear. So I'd love to just give them some clarity on what you have seen because your clients are still killing it. iOS 14 or not, right? You've just had to adjust your strategy a little bit. So I'd love to kind of hear sort of general results and how you've kind of adjusted your approach.
So one of the biggest things I want to say with ads is they're still performing. All right. They're still working. You're still getting sales from them. Just the hardest thing that's happened is being able to track them properly on the back end of Facebook Ads Manager. So that's the biggest change for them. Also being able to do like lookalike audiences and retargeting audiences. That's another big shift that has happened because we can no longer use third-party data, right? It has to be all data that we are collecting or Facebook and Instagram is collecting for us to reuse. Lookalike audiences in the past couple of weeks have been getting a lot better. And they do still work if you have really big like email lists, customer lists, things like that, have a really good engaged social media, which again is why organic marketing, right, putting this into perspective, is super important at all times too, because that's kind of what's leading this new funnel with ads. But they work. Really what I have done is I've had a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of nightmares, a lot of tears, but I've done a lot of research in what's going to work and what's going to best support my clients, my business. And so we've invested in different tracking tools. We've learned more about Google Analytics. We've added in parameters on Facebook ads to help us track in Shopify and other platforms that you're using for your websites. We just really kind of done it all to make this full circle connection of ads. But also we've realized along the way the most important thing for each of our customers, especially in e-commerce, is what's that lifetime value? What, even though we may be paying this much for a new customer, right? What is that actually bringing to the table afterwards? And it has made my clients and me that much more successful with ads because we're seeing the full picture. So even though this change has happened, and even though it's not fun looking at my Facebook ads manager and knowing that maybe it's tracking 50 to 66% of my sales that I'm bringing in from ads, I'm tracking them elsewhere. But also I've learned way more about the full traction of ads and the importance of them due to these shifts. And to me, knowledge is everything, especially as business owners. And hi, Jill. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you too.
So sorry, but I can't see the live in the group. I see it on the page. I'm supposed to be live in the group, so I'm sharing it there now just in case.
Okay. It looks like on my end, it's saying that it's like a sales post. So if you click on the 3 dots, Jess, you can unmake it a sales post, and that should then pop it up for us.
Like, what is happening? You know, what's funny is I always check.
Yep.
And I didn't check this time. And
there we go. I see us now. We're good. Well,
okay. Or is it the one I shared in there?
It looks like it's the one that you shared.
Yeah. Oh, now it's in their place.
Yep.
Okay. But we're in. Okay. Because I know the group people are probably like, wait, where are they? So for those of you just hopping on from the group, apologies. The one time I didn't check to make sure we were live in there, we weren't fucking live in there. So you'll want to go back after we finish and watch from the beginning. Thank you, Laura, because Nicole just gave some info about iOS 14. And then yes, Jill, that's exactly what happened. Sales post. So stupid. So you'll want to go back and watch the beginning where Nicole talks to us about iOS 14 and how that may or may not be affecting your ads, but do know ads are still profitable. So stay with us. So one of the things, and you guys have probably heard me talk about this, is I think where I know in the beginning, Nicole, there were some pains figuring out the reporting and understanding what to do and all of that, right? But ultimately, you never saw like a huge dip in results because you were already using interest-based audiences for the most part versus relying on the algorithm, which relied so much on that third-party data that Facebook no longer has. So can you talk a little bit about, I know you've changed your strategy a smidge though, so you can talk a little bit about what's different now?
Yeah. So something that I've always done differently with ads, it's called detailed targeting. And this means that we're using interest-based opportunities, that's what I like to call them because they are, to really kind of hone in on your audience or your clientele. So this is something that like big ad agencies weren't doing, right? Their clients are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on ads. They don't have to get nitty gritty with like their CPAs, or every dollar doesn't necessarily have to be going to the correct audience. But for me, I started out with audience and with clients who were able to spend, $1,000 to maybe max $2,000 a month on ads plus my fee. And so that really did narrow it down for me, one, because I didn't have a ton of spend. So I had to be really, really succinct and clear, one, on their messaging, but really mainly on their audience, because that to me made sure that no money was being wasted, being shown to people who weren't their ideal customers. And what that's helped me do and see through all of these changes is my clients have not seen a dip at all in their ROAS. If anything, we've seen an increase quite a bit, actually, because we've been able to do what others weren't doing, which is utilizing really first-party data, is what I've been doing this whole time. I haven't been relying on that third-party data that other people were, which was just really the algorithm of Facebook ads back end. So now what I'm doing a little bit differently is I'm not getting as detailed because we don't have as much broad reach as we used to with iOS due to the iOS 14 changes, and that's okay. What it means is I'm just making sure that my audiences are a little broader, a little bigger, but still very much interest and targeted based to make sure that we're still hitting those people who I know if they see it, they could potentially be a buyer. And that's really where the big changes have come from, and where a lot of my clients who were either doing the ads themselves or had a bigger agency doing them, where they're like, what happened to my ROAS? I'm spending, thousands and tens of thousands of dollars a month on ads, and I'm not seeing the results that I used to. It really mainly is because there wasn't ever really a strategy behind what their audiences were. It really was just, well, Facebook can do it for us if we give it this type of money.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for that clarification. Okay. So for those of you who are like, sweet, I still believe in ads and I'm ready to do them, or I'm already doing them and they're not really working out the way that I hope they would. I think one of the problems, and Nicole and I have talked about this, maybe even in this group before, is going really like direct to the sale, which definitely works sometimes, right? But maybe not all the time. So if someone is just kind of starting out or not seeing the results, like what would you initially just tell them to do to get started?
Some of the first changes that I would do, especially if you're newer to ads, is instead of starting with like conversion-based type of advertising, start with lead generation. As we know, as e-commerce businesses, emails are queen. I like to say queen. That's just what I like to say. And they help make your life easier. The biggest thing here for your website to convert, for you to get sales, is we have to get eyeballs there. And then we have to make sure that we're keeping some of those eyeballs, to where we can retarget them with emails or potentially in the future ads. So lead generation is actually the cheapest form of advertising you can do currently, and on all platforms, all type of platforms. Facebook, though, has really cheap lead generation. My clients usually see, even when they're new, it depends, obviously. Service-based providers are a little higher. For my e-commerce, we see below $10 a lead, in a sense, right? So that's an email, phone number, name, or a group member. They have groups, community members. But to me, what that does is they're like, okay, so Nicole, I got $10, or I'm spending $10 for this person who hasn't purchased from me yet. But I know that they like my items because they signed up for my list. And I know that they're technically a warm customer, right? There's somebody who potentially and most likely will turn into a buyer. And so to me, that's a lot easier of a sell than me telling my clients who are just starting ads saying, hey, we may see CPAs between $30 to $60, right? Because it's brand new and we don't know. We don't know if this is your right customer base, if they're on Facebook, if they're on Instagram more. So we're really learning. And usually the lead generation is a really easy sell. It's easier for everybody for those, the budgets that we need to really take into accountability. So lead generation, remember, even if you're in e-commerce, is just email lists, discounts, bonuses that they get with their first purchases, Facebook groups with, trainings or things about like creating a community. You can make a lot of money just from doing ads on lead gen.
Yeah. And just to, when you hear that $10 per email, like, I don't want to pay $10 for an email. But if you remember what Nicole said earlier, and you may have missed it if you're in the group, apologies again, but go back and watch, is you have to remember that lifetime value. So if you know that your customer spends $500 over the time that they shop with you, would you pay $10 to get them into your orbit? Yeah, you probably would, right? Because that's going to pay for itself over and over. So I wouldn't, I think there's been so much on the internet over the years, especially in like the online educational space. Oh, I'm getting leads for $1.25. Like, it's very unlikely that that's going to happen for you. And so you need to be realistic, but understand your numbers and know what you can afford to pay for someone. And I would back into it too and say, hey, okay, if your lifetime value is low and you can afford to pay $10 for someone, well, that's not an ad problem, right? Mm-hmm. That is a business problem, that you don't have repeat customers coming back to shop with you more often. So, we can't remember that ads will amplify whatever's happening in your business, good or bad. They are, there's probably very few instances where ads truly don't work for a business, right? But they will work for a business that has a really strong foundation. Before we move on, we have a couple of questions that came in.
Perfect.
Jill asks, what would be an example of a target audience for grandmas buying subscription kits for their grandkids?
Ooh, okay. So grandmas now, right? Like our age, they range, right? We have our young grandmas, we have our older grandmas. They're all on Facebook. Okay. That is where we need to be hitting them. They're there. And some of them are in Instagram. They do just like the pictures. They like being able to share their family stuff. So that would be the age range. I would say between 40 to 65 plus. It's women. They are a part of all the different types of Facebook groups. They love cooking. They love knitting. So really finding their hobbies is great for interest-based items to put into your detailed audience. I start out with a broad audience now, which means one tier, one interest tier is what I call them. And then once I figured out if my broad audience is working, I then make it go down to a detailed type of audience, which is 3 tiers of different interests. And those tiers go like this. What is my product, right? All those interests around my product that I'm selling. Then who am I selling to, right? Grandmas. So where would all the grandmas be? What are they doing? Are they still in work? Are they retired? All that interests about who they are. And then the last tier is hobbies and what they do, what they like on Facebook, what they're reading, what are they watching. And that's how that kind of narrows it down. But you put all of those interests in your broad one as well, right? When you get to the 3rd tier, that's when you do that. But for me, I would say your audience is definitely there. I've worked with a lot of clients with older audiences and they buy like crazy. Subscription boxes are huge too. And that's something too that I see a lot of like my older family members like, hey, Nicole, would you like this? I could get you a year's. And I'm like, yes, give me all the subscriptions. So it's something that they're moving into, especially for gift giving. So your audience is there. It's just really focusing on who they are, right? As people, where is their budget? Usually it's a higher budget because they're older. So they have more income to spare on gifts. And then what are they doing, right? Like what are their hobbies? Where are they located? And how can we target them?
Yeah, they're like knitting, they're gardening.
Yes.
Things like that. And what's cool about your particular target, Jill, is they shop early.
Yes.
They buy gifts early. They are shopping all year, honestly, especially when you're talking about grandkids. So you can really start to capture their attention like way before Black Friday and still have a holiday message because they're already thinking about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Next question. Do you mean to use more interest audiences versus custom audiences like web visitors?
So it's a little bit of both, right? So currently, like I was talking about earlier in the live, lookalike audiences were kind of dead for a hot minute after the iOS 14 change. Now they're coming back if you have big enough lists, right? If you have big enough website visitors, usually a lookalike audience for a cold audience works. If you have enough, past customers making a lookalike audience for that list makes sense and is working again. For me, I use interest-based audiences because that's something that not a lot of people tap into or know how to tap into yet. So it's a reason how I've kind of been able, even before all this iOS changed, I don't know if like undermining is the word, but how my small agency was able to get bigger, clients, really good results because of that type of strategy. We didn't have to have all of that money that, bigger companies have and bigger agencies manage to be able to see the same, if not better results due to that type of strategy.
There would be like a threshold, like, okay, you need to have at least this many customers or this much traffic per month for those lookalikes to really work. Because like me, I don't get a lot of traffic and it's different because I'm not an e-commerce business, but like Facebook just straight up says your audience is too small. Like we can't do anything.
Yeah. So obviously they have this 1,000, it's like 1,000 mark. We don't want anything under that, but I would say for creating lookalike audiences and wanting to run a cold audience without any interest-based details, it needs to be close to that 15,000 like website visitors. When it comes to like customers, because we have more data on them, right? It's like their email, their location, how much they spent. So Facebook can kind of in the lookalike audience get more information off of that. I say at least 5,000 there. I'm testing one though now with a little over 1,200 to see if I can get something. But also I like to do like the 2%, the 1% or the 2% match. With them, I'm going to be doing the 5% just because they have a smaller customer base, but it's a broader type audience anyways for the product. So it makes sense. But honestly, that 5,000 mark for customers is great. It works really well. And that 15,000 for website views. If you have that many, okay, this is like social media stuff. If you have that many followers, Instagram followers, Facebook followers, that's when that type of engagement really helps with lookalikes as well, because Facebook's easily able to find, like other competition that has broader audiences, but are a business like yours. So it's that would probably be a good threshold if you're not wanting to try any like detailed targeting strategy.
Got it. And then in terms of, so Ron Grubb is asking, how about retargeting ad strategy? I mean, are you even doing any retargeting right now?
My customers, it's so funny because a lot of them have learned now and have been burned in the past from other ad agencies that, that's why I was getting so many sales, is that I was just retargeting people who already loved my brand and my products. So we focus, and that's why people come to us, is we focus really hard on cold audience. So people who've never purchased from you before. Retargeting though, and for fourth quarter is about 20% of my strategy, because it's something where we can get them to buy in bulk. So if you have any bulk items, they're going to always be reaching that threshold of free shipping. They'll buy what they need to buy. And we always want to give them some sort of deal during Black Friday to remind them that they're important to us. Because obviously bringing customers back is a lot cheaper. But when it comes to your ad strategy, I don't want to spend a lot of money on it when I could put them in a group and it'd be free, right? Or I could put them on your email list and it could be free. Granted, free is relative, but just way cheaper than me having conversion ads sent to them. But for that retargeting, I just focus on making sure that all of my lists that I have of past customers, we're hitting them with specific things that they bought previously that will make them say yes again.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Really good point too. And retargeting really, look, I'm no expert, but I poke around. I listen to what Nicole has to say. I kind of keep my ear on what's happening. But like, if your audience is small, you're going to exhaust them so quickly in retargeting, right? And you're going to have like a really high frequency, and it's just not going to work anyway. So why waste your money on it when you can just send them an email? I mean, that doesn't mean there's no value in retargeting, because as we talk about all the time, people need to see things so many times before they take action. But don't let that be the thing that you lean on. Like it used to be, hey, if you've never done ads before, like just start with retargeting because it's going to be easy for you. And then you can get some pixel data and all of that. But now I wouldn't recommend that anymore.
Yeah. And so the difference too is what I consider retargeting is customers who have previously purchased from you. There are some like companies that consider retargeting also warm audience, which are people who come to your website, people who are engaging with you, maybe on your email list, maybe through social media, but haven't purchased yet. I still consider that a cold audience, but I call it my warm cold, right? So that means they have engaged with us, but they still haven't purchased. Those are like your ideal. And in fourth quarter, those are the people you're hitting 60% of the time. Like you're like, hey, this is where I want to be. I want you guys in front of me. And how you do that is you use those custom audiences that we talked about of website visitors that have visited me in the last 180 days. I have email lists of people who are on my email list that still haven't purchased. I can put that in there. And that really builds up that type of campaign and that type of audience well for fourth quarter.
Got it. Awesome. Jill said, Nicole, are you taking new clients for Q4?
I am, but I'm getting close to having to close. So we are getting busy. We're taking on some amazing businesses who are really looking to scale. And I mean, I would say in the past 3 months, we've taken on some, like, I am ecstatic and very excited for what we're seeing in the ad world. But also I've been pretty disappointed with what's been happening with some of the clients that I've been taking on. Like, why are people not talking about these numbers? Why are they not being shared? All these things. Like Jessica and I talk about this all the time because our main goal for each of you is longevity in your business. And so that means, even though I would say I like the creative side of my business, obviously, because that's what I focus in, numbers are my game. Like that is my jam. When my clients are making money, I'm like, I don't even care. This is like, can I shout it from the rooftops? So this is the best time of year for us. It's also the busiest time. But thankfully, yeah, we do have a couple more spots. So would love to chat.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So how do they kind of think of, we talk about this a lot. I'm like, how do I say this? Just sort of like that Q4 funnel of kind of getting those people in. What do they do to get the new people in? And then, you know, what does it then look like in November? And like, what should that look like?
I love it. I literally wrote it on my notes right here. So so October, okay, the month of October, I call it the lead gen month. This is the goal where we're getting new people who've never engaged with us to engage with our ads, to engage with social media, to engage with joining our email lists. Maybe we're giving out like early bird coupon codes for Black Friday that only they can get if they sign up now. Maybe we're like, we'll launch early this product or this new line if you're on this email list. But it's really focused to that cold audience, right? Like, how can I get these people who've never engaged with me before to engage with me so we can move them through our warm audience? That's the audience that's going to make you the most money. And like Jess and I talk about, okay, quarter 2 and quarter 3 are where you get most of your buyers for fourth quarter. So that's why we talk about it all year long. It's really important to be visible then. But if you have money on ads, October is the month to get them up and running and really focus on that cold audience, moving them through your pipeline. Now, the beginning 3 weeks of November are called FOMO, okay? These are the 3 weeks where we're putting things out that we're going to be launching, you know, for Black Friday or but for the Christmas season, but getting them in the space where they know, okay, there's a timeline. I know that I only have this time to use a coupon code. Oh my gosh, they only have this amount of the product, so I need to make sure I'm the first. It really is that like fear of missing out. We are putting that in their minds. We're making sure that they know this. This is done through your email strategy. This is also done through your marketing strategy through ads. And that is still focused in a sense on lead gen. But I also have conversion ads running at that time too. So we can do like early deals. It's really based off of where my client's budget is at and what they're wanting to do for, you know, their revenue. But usually I do a lot of FOMO in that time period. People still are buying like crazy and it works well. But it allows us to have, when everything launches on Black Friday, whether that's Thursday at midnight or, you know, Friday at noon, it's getting sold like that. And we have ads that are ready to launch. They're already pre-approved by Facebook, so you can schedule ads out. Highly recommend this for all of you. You can schedule ads out a month in advance. So that's how early you can get them pre-approved and scheduled to launch at a certain date and a certain time. This helps you guys feel way more organized, so you're not doing everything when sales are going crazy, when you're like, who am I using to ship? Because I know that's a huge issue this year. And it just allows you guys that sanity. So please use October and November to, you know, get things pre-scheduled, pre-created. Remember that being simple is better than being super, super creative with it. But that would be those timelines there.
Got it. Love it. And during that FOMO time, and you've probably heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it again. Don't be afraid to give it like a lot of it away, right? I know so many of us are like, oh, well, I want to keep it for like the launch, or, oh, if I tell them too much too soon, they're going to wait to buy. Like the people who are waiting to buy are waiting anyway.
Yes.
So during that time, let them know so that they can plan, right? Because then they're going to be like, oh my God, I want this thing so bad. I'm marking it on my calendar. They're refreshing their inbox, waiting for you to launch it. Like if you think about how people shop and how people shop for holiday, like for me, I have my list of people I need to buy for. I have a general budget for each one of them, right? We spend more on the parents than we do on the siblings, things like that. So if I'm trying to do my shopping in Black Friday weekend, which I'll tell you, most people are still just shopping for themselves, but buying gifts too.
Yeah.
Like if I know that this store that I always find really great stuff for, my mother-in-law, I want to know that they have something. I'm going to carve out the time and make sure I go so I can get what I want before shit sells out. Like that is what people do. So help them do that, and then be the place that they are just like so tuned into and waiting for the details. Jill says, shipping was crazy last holiday. I had hundreds of boxes sitting in an airport hangar in LA, never being scanned. Yes. And you know what? It's going to happen again this year. So I do recommend you, move up your shipping cutoff guarantee. Even now, like a lot of people are struggling to even get goods because they're like sitting on the docks and they don't have anybody to unload the pallets, or the container. So, you're not going to necessarily be able to restock stuff because you're just not going to get it in time. Everything is just taking too long. We don't have truckers, it's just too many things. So all those things that you do need to prepare for. And, everyone is experiencing that too, right? Everyone knows this happening. So, and it's on silly things. So my husband, because he spends most of his days in the car, we always get like the Frito-Lay mix pack of chips, right? And there's a particular flavor that he gets. And then if they don't have that one, we get this other flavor. Empty for weeks. Can't get it. Don't have it. Can't even get pastrami. Can't get it. So, people are experiencing that. So, you don't have to be like a fear monger, but it's okay to say, make sure you shop early. There's going to be inventory and shipping issues. People know that that's a thing. So just to make sure you remind them.
And that's something too that I'm really interested in seeing this year, if buying for holidays starts even earlier, just because last year was such a huge transition for people of all ages with using online, buying things online. So I do feel like the likelihood of things probably speeding up a week or two is good, but also, there's just things that will be interesting. We'll learn a lot this year, but being as upfront and like Jess said, sharing that information is just letting your people know. Be like, I hope that I can get more stuff in, but I don't know. We're all in this kind of same boat together. And that's just going to allow people to be more prepared, right? And making sure that they can get the items that they want to get from you.
Yeah. And really what causes customer service issues, what causes problems in personal relationships, it's unmet expectations, right? That is usually the root cause of most problems. So if you can just lay it out there for them so they know what's happening, right, you're going to have happier customers, even if their gift does get there a little late or something like that. So don't be afraid to move it up. I remember last year I was specifically saying start early, do this. And then for this year, I've been kind of teetering. I'm like, I don't know how I feel, but as I'm seeing more and more supply issues coming, here I am again saying, start early. Start early, especially if you're smaller, if you hand make anything, just start early and make an event out of it, call it whatever. I don't know. I can't think of anything right now, but maybe you create your own little branded event. So it's like not Black Friday, but something else. And you do all your promotions ahead of time. So something that like that could be super fun. And then now you're reaching your people when their, inboxes aren't as clogged up too.
Yeah.
So there's always that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for us, and this is just something too, ladies, because this last year has been, and obviously Jess and I are different because we're service providers, but this time last year, I only had 1 employee. So, and now I'm going to have 3 employees. So like tripled, I guess what you call it, tripled in size. But the reason I'm saying this too is I had to prepare even earlier for all the stuff that we had to do for clients, like for ads. When you guys have, like, even if it's just getting a list together, right, of like early stuff, or creating like a Google Doc of here's like a checklist of stuff that I want to get done early, or like my husband tells me all the time, he's like, Nicole, if you need, and I was going to say babe, because that's how he talks to me, but he's like, Nicole, if you need any help with anything, like I may not know how to do all the things, but if you write a list, like I can help you and I can do that. Sometimes we're very hesitant to, 1, ask for help, but 2, get it. There are people around you who would be honored to support you through this process, especially as an e-commerce business, especially if you're packaging everything yourself. Don't be afraid to ask for that to help kind of take some of that stress off of you, because it will allow you to handle kind of that growth and what you'll see this 4th quarter and this holiday season, and be a little bit like, okay, I did that. And now I can prepare for next season. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm probably going to need, a part-time person to help me here or there. But sometimes we get afraid and we like hold ourselves back a little bit. And I'm just putting that out there as kind of like your optimistic advice here. Try to pre-plan for that. Because if you do, you're going to be in way better hands and feel much, much better about what you're doing holiday-wise.
Yeah. And Laura just said, driving on Pacific Coast Highway, seeing the dozens of cargo ships waiting in line to get into Long Beach port. And they've just been there. Like they can't leave, right? Because all the stuff is on them, but there's nobody to unload them. Yeah. So that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. It's insane. Insane is what it is. Yeah. And speaking of, getting help and things like that, I'm not like a tax person or anything, but I do know that there are benefits to or less regulation, I guess, in terms of hiring your children to help you in your business. So hire your kids, let them help you pack and ship stuff. Who do you have that you can, maybe there's some high school kids or whatever in the neighborhood that want a little extra cash. If you are in the States, you really, what is it? This is not legal or tax advice, but if it's under $600 a year, you don't even have to report that you paid that out. So, and I'm, my husband and I right now, we're searching for a home to buy in LA, I want to just stop. But, we keep thinking about okay, if we have to paint, it's hey, come on over for a pizza party. I'll get you some beer, some pizza. We'll put on some music and everybody pick up a roller because I need your help. Right. So don't be afraid to ask for that. Very good point.
Yes.
So I want to kind of touch on, because who was it? I don't remember already, who asked about the grandparents, right? So I think that's a really good point of the person you are targeting with your ads during Q4 may be different than the person you target for the rest of the year.
Yes.
Right? Is there anything specific they should think about or watch out for? Should they be doing totally separate ads to those audiences versus their regular audiences, or?
Yeah, so I would recommend that there are some changes in creative and copy. Now, how you're building out those audiences are obviously going to be different too. And I would say, even though during 4th quarter, we may be these are the ones that we're mainly going for.
Yeah.
You want to have consistency throughout the year. So at least that audience is still getting some information and some data. But yeah, I would say we have to make sure that our creative is appropriate for our customers and that's something that a lot of my clients, they do not like me. Okay. When I say, hey, your audience is up here. And so I have to change the design. I know you may like the design at this level, right? For like our fun younger folks, but like we got to do this because that's what's going to catch their eyes. And there are people that are not always a fan of that. And I get it. But the main goal here is when you're doing ads, my job is to get you the most money. And yes, I want to be on brand. Yes, I want to be on brand. Yes, I want to have, everything aligned with you and your voice. But I also have to make sure that sometimes there are tough decisions where if I know it may not be the prettiest, right? But it's going to make you more money. That is my job to do that for you. And sometimes those are tough conversations to have when we have those different type of audiences, but it's a big deal because they could be your main fourth quarter revenue. And if I'm hitting them with another design that you really love for our younger audience, it's not going to trigger them to buy. So we're losing out on a lot of money by not making those tweaks and making those changes.
Got it. Yeah, good point. Yeah, because what's going to sell to me is not necessarily what's going to sell to my mom or to my husband right? So you really got to think about you still want to reach your regular customer because, people are still buying for themselves in Q4. That's a thing. But also think about who is buying that as a gift. Yes. And I remember, and look, there's adjusting a little bit to reach the audience you're trying to reach from a marketing perspective. And then there's always a line, right? Mm-hmm. There's always a line maybe you don't want to cross. So for instance, there's a jewelry brand I love and she has profanity on everything.
Yes.
And, she one time got like a comment or something of someone who was super insulted by it and just she didn't like that her sold out said sold the fuck out, things like that. And she was like, well, that's cool because that's not my person.
Yes.
And that's fine too. But think about kind of where is the line of okay, this isn't perfectly on brand, but these people are buying for my ideal customer. It's going to make me a ton of money. And so maybe I'm okay with making that little adjustment for that period of time.
Mm-hmm. And it's just, it's a compromise. And what I like to say is everybody that you're working with, I don't like to look at my employees as employees and I'm the boss and they're my employees. Everybody's relationship that I like to have this is a partnership. We are doing things mutually for each other. And when we see it as that, instead of oh, she's working for me or, oh, this is what our communication styles change drastically, as well as our collaboration styles, our partnership styles, and being able to see the full results that we're wanting to see together. And for me and my clients is I want to be somebody that you can say, hey, this sucks. I don't like it. And know that maybe I'll cry and drink a wine and bottle later, but I'll be fine. Get over it. But at least you're honest with me and we can communicate past that. Because when we aren't doing those things, we can't get on the same page. And then that ends up hurting you making your money that I'm wanting you to make. So it's really something that, especially during this stressful time, that we have those boundaries and you have those partnerships and that understanding of, okay, I know that they're trying to do the best for me, but what if it's not happening? How can I communicate that properly? And that's something that I'm happy to say we're working on as a company. And I know it's really helping our relationships with our clients too. So,
yeah. And ultimately, when you're hiring someone like Nicole to do ads for you, she's responsible for the results of those ads. Yeah. So let her do it her way. And then if the numbers aren't working, then, okay, look, you tried it. It's not working. Can we try this other thing? And I know you often will sort of test your ideas versus the client ideas and see what happens. Because, we just never know. Yes, there's strategy and best practice and all that. But ultimately, we got to test. And that's when we know that it really works. So but you have to kind of just let people be responsible for what they're responsible for, right? And if you think about, if you guys have ever worked in corporate, think about that micromanaging boss that was like, man, I really just wish they would let me do my job. if you want to dictate everything I do, then hire a monkey and let them do it. Like, you hired me for my expertise, not to just follow your direction. And I don't want, as an employee, and this used to happen to me all the time, I was responsible for the results of email.
Yep.
And so I don't want to do something that I know is going to get worse results just because someone else told me to do it. Yeah. So what I used to do is I would test what they wanted against what I wanted, and I'd prove it in the numbers. And 99.9% of the time, mine was better, just saying. So you need to let your service providers do that as well.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's the thing. It's all about data. And for me, what I love about ads is I can test all of those things, right? I have the ability, as long as, my clients have, the monetary means that we can test out those different things.
Yeah.
We can do that. And I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from that, and trying to make sure that through all those partnerships, we are doing what's best for, the bottom line, what's best for their business, and what's really going to take them to that next step. And I have to say, it has transformed my business this year, because I used to be, and still kind of am, the biggest people pleaser in the world. I hate hurting people's feelings. I want to do all the things, that my clients, especially my clients, are like, yes, we want to do this instead of that. But now I've realized, now that we are, this is my results for my clients, it's okay to say, hey, here's where we're at, and here's how to compromise and make it better, because it has made those like success stories just that much better. So
yeah, that's awesome. And this is the same standard that you should hold yourself to if you're doing emails yourself in-house. Like, don't get emotionally attached to your copy or your creative or anything, right? Let the data tell you what is and isn't working. So I just want to throw that out there. So one real quick thing too, because I know live video, so many of you, right, are all afraid to do live video. And I'm always telling you should do live video. And a couple weeks ago, I did a podcast that talked about how I got over my fear of live video. Now, I'm not sure if you noticed it, but did you see me spit the water out of my mouth onto myself?
I did, but I was trying not to laugh. I was like,
I know, me too. I almost muted myself because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to hold it in. You did a really good job because you were talking. You just talked through it. So I just want to let you know, okay, that weird shit is going to happen, and it doesn't fucking matter, and do it anyway. I believe it was Angie Lee who says, like, you can't be afraid to look stupid. Right? Like, and that's the thing I always kind of try and remember is because I was always that way. Like, I don't want to look dumb. I don't want to feel dumb. Right. But like, I just looked really stupid. And guess what? I survived, and we're still here, and you guys are still here on the live with us, and we're still dropping lots of value. So when that happened, I was like, I got to make sure I mention it, because I know so many of us like hold ourselves back for doing live video. But it's so powerful. And yeah. Okay. I'm going to stop rambling about that. Nicole, I know that you do done for you stuff, right? But I know you also right now are doing like some Q4, like strategy call things. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and how it might help them?
Yeah, so I am doing a 1-hour fourth quarter strategy session. So it can be talking about ads, it can be talking about your full-on marketing strategy, which is usually what I do. Because the thing is sometimes we focus as business owners in one thing that's working, but we forget about all the other things that we need to have also connected, right? Like email needs to be connected if we're doing ads. I have so many clients who are like, I'm killing it with ads. And I'm like, where are your emails going if we don't have any emails? Whatever that's going on, right? So we talk about pretty much planning out your full fourth quarter strategy from now until the end of the year. It's 333. I like numbers. Angel numbers are fun. Look up what 333 means. You guys will like it. And it's really just walking you through what you currently have in place for strategy. If you don't have anything, I help you plan that out. I also have like a content calendar. I give you all of the assets that I use for my clients to build things. hand it to you as well so that you can have that access to building it out yourself. And then I'm also in the process of creating a 2022 marketing calendar, which will be a whole ass calendar for the whole year that literally highlights every week what you should be doing through your marketing, what you should be posting, what you should be working on. And I'm really excited about getting that live too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so, and the link for that is in the description of this video, guys, if you want to get her eyes on your ads, or maybe you even just want a little help, like, hey, can you just like look at my audiences? Am I doing this right? So Jill asked, can you share an example of a business that did not have an ad presence and how you saw a change when they did? Oh, she got lots of those examples.
Yeah,
my clients that I've sent her.
So I would say, obviously, organic marketing is very important for your business, right? But it's something where when you start having paid advertising and where it's literally leading to the goal of sale, the increase in your email list is exponential. I have one client who has gained almost 3,000 leads in 3 months, and we haven't even done any lead gen ads yet. So it's something that is really powerful on all fronts and getting more people to your business. But for example, I had one client last year that started in November. Her average sales a month were about maybe 2,000. That November, I got it up to 16,000. She was averaging over 10,000 for the rest of this year until June. And she's now on Shark Tank. So she's going to probably really, really explode, have more budget to really grow. But that's a really good example of somebody who was smaller, spent only 2,000 in ad spend, and we got her seeing 2 to 4 times ROAS really, really quickly. But most of my clients, like from no ads to ads, it's an exponential change in what they're bringing in and selling, especially if organically you're doing good.
Right. Would you say that organic and proof of product market fit is really what they all have in common and why they are so successful pretty quickly?
Yes, I would say that's the big game changer for my clients who come to me, is that organically they have people who found them and love them and now are, repeat customers. Their websites convert well, right? Like conversion rate is actually a really good sign to me now too. If somebody organically is converting at over a 2%, ads are going to kill it. And that's really like my goal for a lot of my clients in general, is that right now on average, we're at over 4.5% conversion rate for all of our ad clients right now. So that to me is pretty solid win there too.
Yeah. Amazing. Jill says, I have done lots of live baking videos where you can imagine how things go wrong. I'm sure. I am sure. All right. So is there anything I didn't ask or we didn't talk about that you want to make sure that we mention before we hop off today?
The only thing that I would say, ladies, is preparedness is your best friend. Even if you don't know how to do it all the way, even if you're stressed out about just do the thing. A lot of us focus on perfection, and that actually holds us back tremendously in all aspects of life and business. We are not perfect beings. It's impossible, right? And it's something that when we hold ourselves, and I know I do this, and I'm sure Jess does this, where I really want to be perfect and I want to hit all of these goals and I want to do all these things. We can't do that alone. So find people there that can support you, right? This group is an awesome space where you can learn great value, but also get organized, be prepared. What are the 3 things? Okay. Pick 3 things you want to do this holiday season and let's get it done. We can't conquer the world in one day, but we sure as heck can do a lot of things.
And one of those things, if you haven't already, is to get the e-commerce badassery planning guide and or the content prompt. So the link for that is up top. It's if you click the header group photo, it will bring up the description of that image, which has the link in it where you can go snag that. That's going to just make your whole planning process so much easier. Promise. It's the exact strategy I followed when I was working for a 7-figure e-com biz. So I know it works because I've done it. And then definitely get on a call with Nicole if you want to get started with ads this season. Don't go it alone. I did it alone, even though I have Nicole, but I was being cheap. And I said, I'm just going to do it myself and see what happens. And I wasted some money and I got no sales from the ads. So
but
don't be me.
Learned, and now look at all the things that are happening with your ads. Like Jessica's my best like story ladies on service provider doing ads successfully, because e-commerce is easier, right? We have products. It's a lot easier to sell those things, like it's tangible. Service providers, hard to get ads to work the way that we want them to. So
it's
gold
stupid.
star. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jill. This was the best part of the day for me too. So I'm so grateful for you guys spending your time with us. We know you could be anywhere on the internet. If you need more support, Nicole's link is in the description of this, because we're on multiple platforms right now. So the link should all be there. Otherwise, you can come on over to the e-commerce badassery Facebook group. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day, a lovely weekend, and we'll see you all very soon.
Yes. Bye, guys.
Bye.